emergency declared by Governor Scott as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and pursuant to Addendum 6 to Executive Order 01-20 and Act 92, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. In accordance with Act 92, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, in accordance with the temporary amendments to the open meeting law, I confirm the following 4 items: that we are providing public access to the meeting by video conferencing, and those who would like to video conference should go to this address, https://google.com/FJMC-CSH. We have provided public note instructions for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access the meeting using the telephone, and that number to dial in is 1-617-675-4444. And the PIN number is 486-744-377-9447, and then you put in pound. We've also put up this information on the Town of Guilford's website, which can be found at guilfordvt.net. And 3, we have provided a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please dial 603-558-0891. And lastly, we will continue the meeting if necessary. In the event the public is unable to access this meeting, it will be continued to a time and place certain. I would ask you to also note that all votes during this meeting will be done by roll call, since it is remote. So let's start our meeting this evening by taking the roll of our select board. Michael Becker.
Here.
Zon Eastus.
Here.
Miranda Porch.
Here.
Rusty Marine.
Here.
There you are, Rusty. We were looking for you. And Richard Wazansky, that's I, and I am here. You might have noticed. Okay, so the meeting has been called to order.
Richard, may I interject just briefly? Could we have anyone who's not speaking have their settings on mute? We're getting feedback from a couple of accounts, and so it makes it difficult for those on TV who are watching. If you could do that, please.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
And we'd like to recognize our public. Hello, public. I see that Gretchen's here, Carolyn is here, Don McLean is here, and I think Sarah Coffey and 6 more whom I can't see, including Nancy Evans. Welcome welcome, public. Are there any additions? Well, we see there is an addition to the agenda, and that is the Green Up office parking lot. And let me just point out that we have rules of procedure which govern our select board meetings. Those rules of procedure, the basic premise of those rules of procedure is civility. We speak to each other with civility. We raise our hands to be recognized by the chair, and we don't call each other names, and we act in a civil manner to one another. Thank you for that. Are there any further additions to the agenda?
Nope, I don't have any, just that one.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Are there any changes to the agenda order?
I have none, Richard.
Okay, thank you. And the minutes, I know that you've all read the minutes, Select Board. Do I have a motion to approve them? Miranda, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Okay, then I shall take the roll on the approval of the minutes. Michael Becker.
Aye.
Zon Eastus.
Aye.
Miranda Porch.
Aye.
Rusty Marine.
Aye.
And Richard Wazansky, aye. Thank you very much. The minutes have been approved. On to the highway. Peter, you're going to update us generally on on the condition of the roads in Guilford, and also the budget impact that we've had because of the terrible mud season that we've had this
Sure.
year.
Sure, no problem. So I did meet with Danny at the end of last week, and we chatted about things. Overall, he and the road crew have been working on improving the state of the roads, which primarily at this time means they've been grading and hauling lots of gravel to the tune of, as of this morning, they've hauled $42,000 worth of gravel this year. So initially, Dan was a little bit concerned that we might go over budget. He has approximately $7,000 remaining in the budget for gravel, and assures me that that will be sufficient to get us through the remainder of the year. It seems like, for the most part, that the worst of mud season looks to be past us. So they haven't been hauling nearly as much as they have for the past 2 weeks. But also because of mud season, he's going to be over on his rental equipment budget. He still is renting the equipment, so he won't be billed till the end of the month. The budget for this year was $1,500. He's estimating it's probably going to be approximately $7,500 for the year. However, Friday is their last day on the winter maintenance schedule, so that's positive. And Dan assured me that they're going to be under budget on payroll and several other items. So the excess in the rental equipment line should be negated by those underages.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah. So everything looks to be all right after his concern about that last week.
So it looks like we won't have to go dip into the highway surplus funds?
I don't think so. I mean, we are have a fairly substantial amount in the highway surplus at this time. However, it does not appear that we will have any need to utilize those funds for this reason at the moment.
That's very good news. Thank you, Peter. Any questions from the select board or anyone?
Well, I just wanted to mention what an incredible job they did. And also this was what seems to me like a climate change mud season. And that's just something we need to sort of put in our pipes and smoke, so to speak.
Okay.
Speaking figuratively, this might be our future.
Let the minutes so show our approbation of the highway department. Thank you, Veranda. All right, Peter, you were going to talk to us about very quickly the town road and bridge standards, which we need to approve.
Yep, that's correct. So every year the select board needs to certify that as a town, we comply with the state's road and bridge standards. So we will need a motion. I will read that motion out, and if somebody could approve it, if you so wish. So we, the legislative body of the municipality of Guilford, certify that we have reviewed, understand, and comply with the town road and bridge standards passed and adopted by the town. We further certify that our adopted standards do meet or exceed the minimum requirements included in the June 5th, 2019 state-approved template. And we further certify that we do have an up-to-date highway network inventory, which identifies location, size, deficiency, and condition of roads, bridges, causeways, culverts, and highway-related retaining walls on all Class 1, 2, and 3 town highways with an estimated cost of repair.
Do I have someone that would volunteer to make that motion? I will. And do I have a second? Miranda seconds it. Is there any discussion? Okay, I shall take the roll then. Michael?
Aye.
Zahn? Okay, Veranda?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard, aye. That motion passes. Thank you very much, Peter. Okay, on to new business. We have, I know we have guests to talk about the Brattleboro World's Trail signage and the potential of elusive Terry Prince recognition. I'd like to keep this discussion concise and to the point, and we have about 12 minutes for that in our agenda. So who would like to speak to that?
I had my hand raised. I'm not sure if you can see me.
Oh, hi, Shanta. How are you?
Good. How are you, Richard?
Good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
So, should I start?
Sure.
Okay. I'll lower my hand. Hi, everybody. I prepared some remarks. Thank you so much. Hi, Veranda. Hi, Zon. I prepared some remarks for this. Thank you so much, first of all, for your time. I'm a Brattleboro resident, and I come before you tonight as a representative of the Brattleboro Words Trail. I'm also a member of the Vermont Humanities Council Board, and I'm also a member of their Speakers Bureau. I give lectures on the life of Lucy Terry Prince. And I want to talk a little bit about why this is of such significance. And also, this happens to be the 200th anniversary of her death. We come before the Guilford Selectboard tonight to ask you to support the State Roadside Historical Markers Program placement of an Abijah and Lucy Terry Prince historic marker at a visible spot at the Vermont State Welcome Center in Guilford. The Guilford Historical Society has already unanimously supported the placement of this marker at the Welcome Center for reasons that I will describe, and I'll just briefly share why this is of personal significance to me. I first encountered Lucy Terry Prince a few years ago, and I always make the joke that she found me as opposed to me finding her, even though I grew up in New England. I'm originally from Connecticut. And it was through my work through the Brattleboro Words Project that was supported through the National Endowment for the Humanities, where I came in contact with Lucy, or where Lucy found me. The Words Project and many others have recently highlighted the significant contributions of Black and Indigenous and other forgotten communities that have played an important role in the Vermont history. Despite these truths, many from within and outside our state continue to see Vermont as a primarily white state, void of any depth of diversity that has too often been hidden from history and our communities. I will say from my personal experience, knowing that the Princes were early landowners who fought and won their rights is something that it's helped to shift my complex feelings about living in Vermont, even though I've been in Vermont for about a decade. Also, for the many that I know who've said that they cannot come here, but for me being a family member and their friend, because they do not see themselves represented, I've taken great appreciation in sharing some of these early histories about Vermont's diversity with them. Placing the state historic marker at the Guilford Welcome Center will serve as an important function in raising awareness of Vermont as a state that welcomes diversity. Placing the official state marker at the Welcome Center will mark the Princes as the first stop also in the statewide African American Heritage Trail. Currently, the trail starts in Grafton with the Daisy Turner Homestead. So placing the marker for the Princes in a heavily visited welcome center will raise great awareness. Although the Princes lived on today's quiet Abijah Prince Road in Guilford, the marker is not a good fit for that location. It is a delicate location, but also we want to maintain the privacy of those residences. I also took another recent drive out there. As someone who lives close by, I have a hard time getting there. And unless you are very familiar with the area or know Guilford, you wouldn't be able to see it. It's not visible or accessible. We at the Brattleboro, and I'm at the end of my remarks very quickly to add others to allow time for others, but we at the Brattleboro Words Trail would like to support having an additional marker at the Guilford Center that goes beyond the typical state roadside marker, what the roadside marker can offer. The trail believes that it can help the town to raise private funds to create a fuller, more locally inspired sign for representation, perhaps at a public space like at the Guilford Grange, that would speak more fully to the legacy of the Princes. We fully understand that the placement of the marker at the Welcome Center requires several additional steps, especially because there's a federal dimension to it. And so we totally understand that. We hope that you'll lend your support in having the historic marker established at the Guilford Welcome Center. And I'll just wrap with, as a fellow poet, as a fellow bearer of witness, I'm very personally invested to help shift the image of a state that inspired Audre Lorde's poem, Every Traveler Has One Vermont Poem, which is a very interesting and telling poem. And I'm hoping to be in my work for as long as I'm here, as long as I can take being in Vermont, I hope to be a part of shifting the change. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanta. So just to clarify, what the Words Project is requesting is a letter of support from the Select Board for the placement of signage or a plaque at the Welcome Center that recognizes the princes. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would be a historic marker because we've started the process with the state office, and it would be supporting the historic marker placement at the Welcome Center.
Okay.
With the understanding, and then we would love to do something additional, but privately, but placed in Guilford as well.
Peter, do you know if the Guilford Select Board legally has to support the placement of the marker, any placement of any marker? Because I don't know the answer to that.
To my knowledge, no. It just lends extra support to the Brattleboro Words Trail and the work that they're doing, particularly if it's on state land. The only thing, from my understanding, that would require Select Board approval if that marker were on town-owned property.
Okay.
But it does, I think, help the work that Shanta and the others are doing.
Sure. I know that we have some public who want to speak to this issue, but do any Select Board members want to make a comment? I see Miranda's hand up. Okay, Miranda. You're on mute.
Yes, I would entertain offering a motion for us to write a letter of support. I think considering our work on diversity, inclusivity, and equity, and also our personal pride in having Lucy and Obijah represent what I consider Guilford values, I strongly feel that we should support this. And I know that our neighbors who had an email conversation today underscored the idea of having the marker or the initial marker in a public place that wasn't vulnerable.
Okay, that's a motion then that for the Select Board to write a letter of support for the placement of the historic marker at the Vermont Welcome Center in Guilford. Do I have a second for that? Michael, are you seconding?
I just want to say one thing. I'm all in favor of doing this. I'm just curious, who would we be addressing the letter to? Like, is it just a generic to whom it may concern, or is there?
I have that information. It would be Laura. She oversees the historic preservation. There's a long title, and she's been like super. We've been exchanging, so I could get you that information.
Yeah,
it's the state marker lady, historic marker lady.
Her name is Laura Treishman. Her name is Laura Treishman. She's the head of the Division of Historic Preservation for the state of Vermont.
Thank you, Sarah. Do I have a second? Michael, did you want to second it?
Yes, I would like to second.
Okay. Thank you. So the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Do I see a hand up? Is that your hand up, Gretchen? Or
yeah, I think Gretchen had a hand up. I'm not sure. I think I saw it.
Okay, and I see Carolyn's hand. Okay, Gretchen, I think your hand was up first. You're on mute. Gretchen, you're on mute.
I don't know if my hand was up first or not, but I came into this meeting just to speak about Bijah and Lucy for a moment. And I apologize for my name not being up. I'm Gretchen Gerzina. I wrote the book about Bijah and Lucy. I wrote the only book about Bijah and Lucy. It was 7 years of long, difficult research, and I wrote it in my house in Guilford. So they have a special place in my heart. And the thing I would really like to see is to have both of them honored. And also, as Shanta knows, I'm really concerned about the not driving tourism toward that property. It is a delicate archaeological site. It is on private land. And I know that Guilford school kids go, you know, with their classes and all of that, which is terrific. But the last thing we want is for people to say, hey, where is that house that Lucy lived in, and start taking cellar stones away. So I came into this meeting as a now former Guilford resident who has felt very, very strongly about Bijah and Lucy being close to my heart for about 15 years now, in an intense sort of way. And also mention that I started being in Southern Vermont on and off since I was 13. And I remember being afraid to go to the dentist one summer because I wasn't sure if they would allow a Black person into the dentist's office, because I didn't know, I was young. So I want to lend my support in a public location to honor these two incredible people, but also not in a way that would drive people toward their property. And that
Okay,
was
thank
really
you.
why I
Thank you,
came.
Gretchen. We have to keep our remarks concise. Carolyn, you had your hand up. Did I not see your hand up, Carolyn? You're on mute, Carolyn.
Trying to undo. Okay, I'm
Oh.
trying to undo it. So, as a person of color who actually lives next door to the cellar hole, I have concerns, as Gretchen has already stated, about any signage that would draw people to the location for the following reasons. One, it's on private property, and the person who owns it also has scattered her mother's ashes there, and there's a headstone. And it's a very sacred place to her. And I don't think she would appreciate having a lot of people tramping around. I also enjoy my anonymous sanctuary here, and I'm not anxious to have people wandering around on my property, which they would do because I'm right. I abut where the cellar hole is. I absolutely support a historical marker as long as it doesn't direct people in this way. Oh,
Okay,
the other thing is, as Shanta has mentioned, this is a class 4 road. So if you're wandering around in a VW bug, you're going to get into trouble, and it's very hard for the tow trucks and EMS to get there without going through my house, or through my property, which doesn't thrill me either. So thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Let me just to clarify for a moment. The motion is to place that marker at the Welcome Center. So it hasn't come up really to place it anywhere else. And so that's what we're discussing, is that motion. Sarah?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Coffey. Wearing my hat tonight as a state rep, and happy to see everybody. I'm very, very supportive of this, making visible this history, really important history, a part of Guilford. I just wanted to share these historic markers are funded through the capital bill, which comes through my committee. So I wanted, when I heard a little bit more about it, I also reached out to Laura Trishman. I just wanted people to be aware that the Welcome Center is not even under the jurisdiction of the state of Vermont. It's a federally, it's under the jurisdiction of the Federal Highway Administration. So there are some complexities about a historic marker being placed there. And I just wanted, when I've been involved with, I think, 3 or 4 different historic markers myself, and the site of the location is an important piece of the approval process. And I just wanted to let the select board know and that this is a complicated thing to do, to get a marker at the Welcome Center, and it's not guaranteed. Like they'll review the site, but I don't want to undermine the fantastic work that's already been done, but I just wanted to ask the question of whether there could be another site considered, I understand not near the original homestead, but that might be closer to Guilford. I mean, for those of us who live in Guilford, the Welcome Center, you can't take a road to get to the Welcome Center. So it doesn't really quite feel like Guilford. And also that's also taken into consideration by the panel that reviews these markers. They're called roadside markers. And Laura asked me just to let people know that it is pretty complicated. It adds another step and layer, as Shanta alluded to in her presentation, that then the VTrans and the Buildings and General Services and the Federal Highway Administration rules, they all will also have to approve the marker being there. I also just wanted to let folks know that Laura has offered also some help. I think whether this marker is cited there or not, I think having a robust presence there for this story would be really wonderful. And markers are, in addition, so all I'm trying to say is that there's a possibility if people wanted to have an exhibit inside, that Laura would be very happy to help work on that with in her role at the Division of Historic Preservation. It's a little bit complicated, as everything is with the jurisdiction there, but there could be a really nice display also. So, and I'd be willing to help with that. That's a little bit separate, but I just wanted to let folks know that the location is not a slam dunk.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. I wonder if the select board would approve a motion that goes something like this, that we would support the historic marker being placed at the Welcome Center in Guilford, but we would also like a notification, or it to be marked somewhere in the town of Guilford, closer to the site, at a place to be in the future, designated in the future, and that we would also support an exhibition to be placed at the Guilford Welcome Center. How does that sound to the select board? If we made that motion, so that we were, and I'd like your take on that, Shanta, as well. So that yes, you're saying yes. Okay.
Well, I just thank you so much. And Sarah, thank you. You've been very helpful. And Laura has been very helpful in letting me know that there's going to be some complexity, but totally worth it. And I just want to say, speaking to Carolyn's point, nothing in the language of the marker would be telling people how to get directly to that place. We just want to honor the princes. So thank you.
Can I take a straw vote of whether the select board would approve of changing the motion to adding those extra 2 items to it, that we would support a marker being placed somewhere in Guilford to honor the princes, and also an exhibition at the to be designated in the future, that location, and also to support an exhibition of the prince's life at the Welcome Center. Is that we could?
Richard, technically, Veranda is the only one that needs to approve of the amendment to her original motion, and then you would need a new second.
Okay, so I'm
Okay,
going to make.
that's fine. That's fine with me.
Okay, great. So now we have a new motion, and we need to take a vote on that. So the new motion is, and
I'll
yes,
second it.
Peter. Okay, and Rusty seconded. Thank you, Rusty. Is there any further discussion?
Can you just repeat the motion, just so that I'm
The
clear
motion
on
is
what it
the motion is your motion, the motion that Veranda made. I'm sorry, to place an historic marker at the Welcome Center in Guilford, and in addition to place a marker in Guilford closer to the site at a location to be designated in the future, and also to support. This is just supporting now, to support the placement of an exhibition about the prince's life at the Guilford Welcome Center. That's the motion, which has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, I'll take the roll then. Zahn?
Aye.
Okay, Michael?
Aye.
Don, Veranda?
Yeah, aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you very much. And I would just add that if it turns out that it's going to be very complex and impossible to get it at the Welcome Center, then we'll have something that the Guilford Select Board has approved of being placed in Guilford, and I think that that's a great compensation for us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank you
Yes.
for like allowing us to
I may
speak.
express a personal opinion. I think it's a wonderful project and it's a necessary project, actually. So, thank you. Okay, on to the Recreation Committee. We have representatives of the Recreation Commission with us.
Hello. Hi there, Eric and Wendy
Hi.
are here.
Oh, it's you two.
Yeah.
Hello.
Nice to see you. You look like you're in a sunny place. Oh, that's the background.
We're at the playscape.
Ah, okay. So let us hear what you want to tell us or ask us.
Okay. In February, we received an email request from Anna Klein, who represents the Neighborhood Roots Collective. They were proposing that they place a little free pantry at the playscape where people could have some food donations. People that were in need could go and receive food. And we put out the word to the Playscape committee. Everyone seemed in favor of that idea. And so we thought we'd bring it to the select board for your approval to place a little free pantry at the Playscape. I believe Jody and Julie Beat are present, and they're both representatives from the Neighborhood Roots Collective and would be available to speak to this project if there were any questions.
Okay, and so I do have a question, which is that I'm just going to imagine that the little free pantry is like the little free library, where instead of books in the box, so to speak, you have food items.
That's correct.
Right, and we need the hi Jody. We need the
Hi.
approval of the select board because it's going to be on town land, right? Okay, do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that I'm in favor of.
Okay, so Michael has motioned that we approve of the placement of a free pantry on the Playscape land. Is there a second? Zon, you're seconding? Okay, the motion has been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Well, I'd like to hear from Jody about, Jody or Julie, about what kind of food they think would be good there and how people will know about it.
I was designated to be the speaker tonight.
Great.
Hi everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Jody Hauser. I live off of Johnson Pasture Drive. Last spring, Julie Beat myself and Anna Klein with a shared interest of strengthening our community and our local food systems sort of met together and created the Neighborhood Roots Food Collective, which is basically trying to make sure that our neighbors are well fed and our farmers are supported and our local food systems are strong. So some of the initiatives, we do a food buying, neighborhood food buying groups. We do gardener support with seed and seed and swap, groupings and skill sharing, and then the little free pantries. So the way we have been talking about little free pantries is that we'll start, this is sort of our flagship one. I would be the coordinator of it, so it would be my responsibility to make sure that the little free pantry is well stocked, it's safely stocked with food, so any foods that can be non-perishable. Obviously you wouldn't put canned food there in the winter, so in that case, in the winter time, it would be more pastas, granola bars, things that wouldn't explode, obviously. But during the summer, there'd be some other selections, as well as some maybe gleaning from the little the community garden that's there. Personal care items. I mean, really, it's what you would find at any sort of drop box.
And how do you intend to promote it?
Well, we're really trying to promote we're just getting our stuff off for nonprofit status. So we're really just trying to promote ourselves, and that, so we would be doing, social media, press release, through the library, maybe even like library, because I'm connected to the library. But mostly social media and
okay, like front porch forum. Okay, are there any other Great. Any other discussion, any other comments or questions on the motion?
Oh,
Okay, I'm gonna
you know,
take a roll. Oh.
obviously, I'm sorry. Obviously, you could let people know at the food pantry as well that this is an additional resource. And, you know, I'm feeling like if you want to do it, it's only helpful and you'll see how it goes.
Correct. And the
Great.
idea is hopefully if you need food, you get it. And if you have the need to give, then you donate. And I would just be making sure that everything was copacetic, and I would check it once a week.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, I'm going to take the vote now because there are two other items I believe that the Recreation Commission wants to bring forward. So Zahn,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
Rusty,
Aye.
Richard, aye. Okay, that motion carries. I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Jody, for your extreme volunteerism and concern about our community. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you so
All
much
right,
for the support.
Okay, and now on to the I have two items: the donations and payments online and the Vermont Children's Foundation grant. Are those two items that you want to present to us? Okay.
Yes, please.
We need to. Okay, good. Thank you.
So the next item would be the Vermont Children's Trust Foundation grant that I submitted in March. And that was for a $2,000 grant that would fund a sandbox at the Playscape. And the reason we're coming here tonight from the Rec Commission is to ask, because there's a little bit of a discrepancy in the timing. So that we will be notified in June whether or not we will be recipients of this grant, but the funding will not be received until September. And we would like the children to be able to use the sandbox this summer. And we're wondering if after, hopefully we will receive notification that we have been approved for this grant in June, would it be permissible to begin work on the project this summer prior to receiving the money in September?
So what is it that the select board, does the select board need to weigh in on that?
Well, Peter had advised that we not do any work until we had received the grant monies. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Peter?
Yes, that is correct, Wendy.
But are you asking for an expenditure from the select board?
We were just hoping that we would be able to move forward with the project before actually having the money in hand, knowing that it was on its way.
Mhm.
Oh, excuse me, Wendy, weren't you told that from the contractor that they were comfortable to begin the work knowing that the money would be coming later?
Thank you. That is a good point. So Bernie LaRock and Son had quoted $1,580 to provide the sand and the excavation and the cut logs that will hold the perimeter of the sandbox. And they said they'd be willing to accept a tardy payment because it was such a good cause. So
Okay, so you just need the select board's approval to go ahead with the work. Do I have a motion for that?
Well, if I can just interject, I would say that they can move ahead with the work if the grant is approved, because if the grant is not approved, then where are the funds going to be coming from?
Right.
Secondly, my personal opinion is the town makes it a habit to pay all of our bills either on time or early, hence the reason we have 2 warrants per month. And in my tenure, we have not delayed a payment. I personally am not in favor. I realize I'm not a select board member, but as town administrator, I am not supportive of delaying a payment to a contractor, particularly to one who's a resident in town. Just wanted to put that. I don't think that's an appropriate precedent to set at this point in time.
So another way, Zahn, yes?
Well, the only other way I could imagine would be that it wouldn't be, perhaps it might be an arrangement with the contractor that it wouldn't be a tardy payment if the bill came later. That it would be on them to do the work and present the bill at a later time. That
Yeah,
would be,
that's the, and I interpreted
we would be
that
dealing with.
that's what I interpreted Wendy is saying, that I think I saw something from Kitsy that said that they would send the bill later. Would that be all right, Peter, with you? If we don't have a bill?
I mean, it's like I said, it's the select board decision. I mean, my personal preference for how to go about it is, if the grant is approved, I would suggest just paying LaRox after the work is completed, out of the, for example, it could come out of the Recreation Fund or the Recreation Commission funds, and then it would be reimbursed back into those funds. It could also come out of the reserve fund, and because it would just go back into the reserve fund. I mean, Eric and Wendy have already stated that they wouldn't move ahead on this unless the grant was approved. So I think that's wonderful. And I think it's a great idea to add more recreation opportunities there. So I'm not against the project. That would be my personal suggestion.
Right, so the motion should be that we approve of going forward with the work. Is that
Once
correct?
the grant's approved.
In June.
Once the grant's approved.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion that states as such? Miranda has motioned that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Was that you, Rusty?
No.
Oh,
me.
Michael. Michael, okay. Is there any further discussion? All right, I'll take the roll. Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Good work on that. All right, we're looking forward we're looking forward to a sandbox. And
Yeah.
and okay, your next item is online donations and payments.
Yeah, so I'll speak to that. Just simply, we're just looking for approval and support of creating a online donation process for our commission. And so that's in a nutshell just what we're looking for. And then secondly, just sort of an action plan to go about creating, if approved, with a committee of folks or however you want to approach it. I'm just basically hoping we can get moving forward on this so that we can take online donations, which will simplify, for some folks, and it's just one arm of our sort of fundraising strategies that we're trying to move forward on.
Mm-hmm. So the online donations would basically be a donation to the town.
Right. Yeah, and it would just go into, we have an account that's set for our donations that come into the Rec Commission now. And that's managed through the treasurer and the town office. And so we want that to still take place. We're just trying to look for a way to make a bridge between, how the town keeps their records and how, what we have set up is Donor Box, which is an online donation software platform. And then that could connect to Stripe or however you did, through the town, and you could control on your end all the financial stuff. That way it's transparent and it takes it out of our hands, essentially.
I think we need our town administrator to weigh in on this. Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is something I've spoken with Eric and Wendy about a number of times over the past, year and a half, probably, on and off.
Right.
So this is a bit of a complex nut to crack here. I think we'd need to, at minimum, if the select board approves this, we'd need to seek some guidance from VLCT, as well as seeing what other towns are doing and how they implement something like this. As I think Eric correctly noted, it needs to be done in a way in which it is transparent and traceable. It also would
the town treasurer.
It also would have to involve the town treasurer. And at last I spoke with her, and she has talked about this quite openly, that she is not in favor of this. She talked about it a number of years ago as a possibility for folks to pay their water bill or pay their taxes, and people were not interested in paying the service fee to utilize the service for that. So that is something that also would need to be taken into consideration by the select board, is who's going to pay that service fee.
Well, if I might just speak to that, when it comes to donations, it's actually a little different because, you know, you're not losing any money because there's no actual bill or invoice. And often people have the option with the DonorBox software to cover the fees as part of their donation. So often that is covered as well by the donor.
My own sense of this is that this is kind of complex, and I don't think that we're in the position to entertain a motion at the present time. I think we need to see something on paper, and we need to see how the process would work. And we would certainly need to have the treasurer of our town weigh in on this, because it's under her. It's not it's not under our aegis. It's under her aegis if there's money coming into the town.
Well, I mean, technically, it does fall on the select board, and the treasurer acts upon the direction of the select board as far as what to do with those finances.
Mm-hmm. But I think that we would have to have a conversation with the treasurer before we.
100% agree. I think that she should be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, and that's what sorry, Richard.
Go ahead, Eric.
Certainly, as I said, you know, trying to develop a subcommittee or, you know, some sort of regular meeting schedule, or however we go about this, I'm glad to be, you know, part of that and helpful in any way I can to make this happen. I know that many organizations in town right now are able to take donations. The Guilford Free Library is one of those. I know that because Kathy Wilkins hired me to set up the online donations for the Guilford Free Library. And this is work that I do every day as a technology specialist. So I'm very, you know, capable to help with all of these strategies. In addition to having created the Town of Guilford website, which, you know, so I have worked with the select board at the town in that capacity, as you know, in the past. So it wouldn't be a strange relationship for me to enter in. I'm willing to help as a volunteer with this project as well. So, you know, just to be clear.
Yeah. So what I would like to do is if you could write up your idea about this and how it would work on no more than one page, so that the select board would have more of a sense of what they would be approving, and also that we would run it by the town treasurer to get her input on it. I think that I would like to bring this up at another time with more information for the select board to make a motion and either approve or reject a motion. Does that sound fair to the select board? Yes, Rusty's saying yes. I see Zana saying yes. Miranda, you have a comment?
Oh, my comment is that, I mean, if we need more information, I think we should do it, get it in a timely manner. I mean, years ago, the Cemetery Commission wanted to offer residents a chance to help enhance the cemeteries and offer them a tax deductible, a tax deduction. And, the town was kind of negative about it. And, this is probably 10 years later. And I really want to encourage the facilitation of this possibility, because the Rec Commission is not the only commission that could benefit from people being able to support our commission's works.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we say that you'll have the outline for our next meeting, and we will have a chat with our town treasurer, with Penny, and we'll try to get this done by our next meeting. So that would be the time
Richard,
frame.
just to note, Penny is currently away at the moment, so I don't know
Is she on
how
vacation
accessible.
or is she working
Yes,
remote?
she is. Yep, she's on vacation. So I don't know how I'm not saying she's not. I just don't know how accessible she would be by the next select board meeting, because I believe she's going to be away until May, and I'm sure Rusty can speak to that. Before you speak, Richard, do you want me to inquire with VLCT as to how other towns in the state handle this?
So that would help with our information gathering. And
I have a question. I mean, if
Yes.
someone wants to donate a check now, is there a way to do that?
They mail a check to the town office, and then in the memo line, they just put what they're making the donation for, whether it's for the, like we recently received a donation to the Recreation Commission ski project, or if they wanted to make a donation to, the Cemetery Commission, or, for improving fencing or something like that.
So we don't have an online method yet, but it
No, we
seems
do
to
not.
me that it could benefit the town. I'm just expressing a personal opinion here that it could benefit the town greatly if we had a town button to press where people could and select a menu would say, I'd like my contribution to go to the town generally, or I'd like my contribution to go to the Recreation Commission. So, I mean, it's definitely something that I think that could benefit us all, but I think we need to get more information. And if you write that up, and given your knowledge of how these things work, Eric, I think you could make it sound very simple and be convincing. Hint, hint.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to provide more information.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Is that yes, on?
Sorry, one other question. Do I understand in the conversation that's happening right now that this might be it's a Recreation Commission request for their work, but if there are other parts of our government that can accept private donations, wouldn't it behoove us to have one site where all of that can be done for the multiple organizations?
That's what I was just
Yes.
saying.
Okay,
Well,
that's what you're talking about. I wasn't clear. Just wanted to make
Okay.
sure.
Yeah,
No,
and
I
that
was
was
just-
that
I
was
was just saying
definitely the
we-
intention all along. And so using something like Stripe, which is a payment processor, you could utilize that in any way for the town with any commission, for example. So this is once it's set up, it's a tool that you could use in multiple ways.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think, so Zon, just to underline that, I think it could be a benefit for our town generally. And it may be time for us to step into the 21st century.
I don't know.
I would
Perish
think
the-
the
perish
Conservation
the
Commission
thought.
would be interested too.
I will say,
Michael?
if I could say two quick things really quick. It was one is we did receive a check donation that came a year late in the mail. And I know that was super random, but that is one thing that did happen this recently for us. And so it was so old, we had to get a new check.
Okay.
And then in addition to that, online donations, you can take reoccurring donations. So somebody could give $10 a month and really make a difference. And that goes a long way for us because so we're trying to keep our budget low for everybody. So
Well, thank you, Eric and Wendy. Thank you for bringing these matters forward to the select board, and thank you for all the work you do, really, to make our town an even more wonderful place to live in than it already is. So we appreciate
Thanks for
that.
giving us the time. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
onwards now. Now we're on to the Bullock Education Fund correction. This we should be able to dispose of very quickly.
Yes, it's just very briefly at the first select board meeting after town meeting day, in which the select board makes all your annual appointments. We made one minor error for that, and that was someone had stepped down from that. I'm sorry, Dawn. I don't remember who had stepped down from that work, and I know that the select board needs to actually appoint Tasha Tillman, as she had stepped into that role last year. And Don can correct any details that are, if I missed them there.
Actually, I thought it was Catherine Mason's reappointment. The issue that I brought up was that in your minutes, it said you had made the appointment for 1 year, and that was as if that were the regular term. In fact, it's a 3-year term. Those are 3 staggered 3-year terms on that committee.
So do we need to correct our minutes?
Assuming that was Catherine who was being reappointed, and she's been on for several terms, then I think all you might need to do, but maybe we need further in-depth research on this. But
so did I misunderstand what you had asked me when you emailed me about this, Don?
When I emailed you, it was because you had appointed Catherine Mason for a 1-year term, and I think
that could have just been a typographical error, and that's not it.
Yeah, it was a long list of people you tend to appoint after town meeting. You appoint a whole bunch of people every year for 1 terms, and I think it was just a cipher. It was just a mistake, and that's really what I was pointing out. I hope that was the only actual problem. And Catherine.
So Catherine Mason was actually correctly appointed then?
I believe so. Well, we may have to go back and see if it was her term that was up.
Okay, I'll look into this, and if everything is fine, I'll just correct the typographical error.
That was all it was, as far as I know.
Okay, okay, thank you. So we don't
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Don. Do we need to do we need to appoint Tasha Tillman or not?
No, because I didn't think that her term expired until next year.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a question, Veranda, or a comment? No. Okay, thanks. All right, moving right along to the ATV ordinance. Peter had put that up in the folder, and we need a motion to accept it, correct? The revised ATV ordinance.
That is correct.
Would someone like to make that motion?
Sure.
Veranda, okay. Do I have a second? Zahn has seconded. Okay, is there any discussion?
Well, my only discussion is just that we have no way to enforce it.
Right. But we have to go on and approve it for anyway, right? Peter, did you want to make...
technically part of it could be enforced by the Vermont State Police. I mean, there are portions of it that could. Otherwise, yes, we technically need a constable to enforce other portions of it. But that doesn't negate the fact that we should have it.
That's on our to-do list.
Okay.
So any further discussion?
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
That
I did.
Zahn. And Zahn,
Thank you,
I'll ask
Zahn.
you, the motion is on the floor. It has been seconded. Do you approve?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, so thank you very much. The ATV ordinance has been approved.
Now, just please note that per state statute, this does not take effect for 60 days to give residents an opportunity to review it.
Okay. And are you going to put it on the town website, or how do they get to review it?
Yes. So per state statute, it needs to be put on the town website. It needs to be posted in 5 physical locations around town, and it needs to be put into the newspaper of notice within the next 14 days.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. And you're going to speak now to the LEMP.
Yes, the local emergency management plan. So I am actually speaking about this from my role as the emergency management director. Every year, the town has to review and update the local emergency management plan. I have done that in consultation with Richard as chair of the select board, with Jared Bristol as fire chief, and with Danny as our highway commissioner. Overall, there were just a few minor updates to it, mostly updates to the list of volunteers on that. However, in speaking with Jared in particular, if the select board has forgotten, 2 years ago, the select board made a motion, well, it will be 2 years in June, made a motion to move the emergency operations center from the fire department to the town office with the addition of the generator there. The select board was also informed at that time that with that action that we would need to purchase some radios, and these radios are different from the radios that were just purchased for the highway crew. This is to communicate with the state emergency operations center, as well as other government partners, as well as purchase and install an antenna for all of that. I have been actively looking for grants to do so, and have not been able to find any at the moment. Given that it's time to update this plan, Jared has recommended, and I would support his recommendation for the time being until we can find a way to fund that, to move the primary location of the EOC back to the fire department until we can find a way to afford that equipment. And given the state of things with COVID at the moment, and the select board not wanting to spend any extra funds, I think that goes in line with the work that you're wanting to do around that. So I would recommend to move it back there and have the town office be the secondary or the backup EOC.
And we wouldn't need a motion for that if we approve the plan. Is that correct?
You actually need that motion would have to go into effect prior to you approving the LEMP, because that is part of the LEMP. So that was one of the edits that were made. So
but I'm not understanding, Peter, because I see, you can't make the revision unless we approve it first.
That is correct.
I was just
Thank
thinking
you.
that if you had the revision in the LEMP, then we would just be approving that change.
No, it has to be a separate motion.
Okay.
And then secondly, with the annual review of the LEMP, the select board needs to adopt the National Incident Management System, which is NIMS, is the acronym for that. That is a system that's been developed by FEMA for oversight and management of emergency situations. And
most of the select board has had training in that. Did the training.
At least some training there should be, yes. And the select board has approved NIMS in the past, and we'd need another motion for that. And last but not least, we would need a motion to approve the LEMP. So we need 3 separate motions.
Okay,
there.
so I would ask for a motion to change the location of the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, from the town office to the firehouse. Do I have a motion for that? So moved. Michael has moved. Rand, did you want to make that second? Okay, is there any discussion? All right, let me take the roll on that. Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, that motion carries. The next motion is to adopt the National
Incident Management System.
Incident Management System, which is something that we really want to have adopted if you've looked at it. And if some of it, has anybody had the training? I've had the training in that. I think
we all had, well, I guess the people who were on the select board 2 years ago, I guess, all had at least one of the trainings or two.
Okay, so if let me just say that if there's a training that comes up, I went to Brattleboro to do it, and it was very, very interesting, and I thought it was important to at least to have the materials too of that, the National Incident Management System. So do I have a motion to accept that? Okay, thank you, Zahn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Rusty, thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, I'll take the roll. Zahn.
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, that motion carries. And then last but not least, do I have a motion to accept the revised local emergency management plan? Miranda has motioned. Michael has seconded. Very good. Is there any discussion? Let me take the roll on that. Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you very much. So
Thank you, everyone.
yes, thank you. And thank you for the work that you've done on that, Peter. The bill S79, the rental housing standards bill, I'm not sure what the action is that we want to take on that. It's passed the Senate, I know, and now it's going to go to the House and go through the legislative process. What were we looking for there?
Well, I think, excuse me, if nothing else, I think it's something that we want to be aware of as the select board. And I know we have a very long meeting tonight, but the issues that it raises for Guilford really interest me. And I think it would be good for us to discuss the implications of it, you know, a review of all of the rental housing and what standards there are and how this might be enforced. This was brought to us by Richard Davis, who wanted us to support it.
Right, but he wanted us to support it by communicating with our senators.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think we have time to discuss it tonight.
I wasn't suggesting that. I just think people should familiarize themselves with it, and then perhaps we could discuss it at a later time.
Okay, and it may be also, I don't know if it may be now important to talk to our representatives about supporting it since it's gone to the House of Representatives. Okay, thank you, Veranda. On to the town health officer. I know that Richard's term is expiring in June, and he has volunteered to continue with that for one more 3-year term. Is that correct, Peter?
It's a 5-year term.
5-year term. He has volunteered to do that, and I'm grateful for that offer of his. And do we need to now have a motion to have him be the town health officer? Unless
yes, there needs to be a motion that the select board recommends that Richard be reappointed. The reason that the select board recommends is because it's technically an action that is taken by the Vermont Department of Health, but they need select board support in order to take that action.
And your motion, is that a motion, Don? Thank you very much to have Richard continue in that, to recommend that Richard continues in that role. What?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any discussion?
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Indeed, we want let the minutes reflect that the select board has commended Richard on the fine work that he has done for our town, and that we are glad that he has volunteered to serve once again in that role. I'll take the roll. Speaking of roles, Zone.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Veranda.
Aye.
But Rusty.
Aye.
And Richard, aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to the library architect RFP. I think I could speak to that. As you know, the select board approved a feasibility study for a very small addition to the library, and we as part of that, we wanted to get a grant from the Division of Community, and I can never remember the acronym there. And we did get a grant for the feasibility. The library did get a grant for the feasibility study, and that included us getting an architect to do a basic design, and to hire Isaac to bring us through this whole process, bring the library and the select board through the whole process. Isaac is now suggesting that it's time to get real architectural drawings for the addition, and he has written a request for proposals for architects, and the select board would need to make a motion and approve a motion to do that. Do you want to add to that, Peter?
Nope. In light of wanting to keep the meeting succinct as possible, I think that suffices.
Right, and the funds for this would probably come out of, if we do, maybe we should have the motion say where the funds would come from.
Good idea.
And the funds could come from the capital budget of the town. Isn't that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Because they are designated in there for library addition, $300,000 There was in 2020, there was $150,000 set aside for the project. And in 2021, there's another $150,000 set aside for the project. So that's where the funds could come from. And I think that's what the motion should say. Do you agree, Peter?
I do. I completely agree with Richard's assessment of that.
So do I have a motion to approve the RFP? So that doesn't mean that we're actually going to approve any architects. It's just approving that we would send out a request for proposals, as
Correct.
we did with the town remodeling. So we're not expending any money at this point.
Not at this time.
Right. So maybe the motion doesn't have to say anything about money, right? This motion?
It specifically, no, it doesn't. You can certainly include it if you wish. I think the if you don't include it, then it would certainly need to be included at a later point in time when the select board selected a candidate to, fill this role.
Yeah, I would prefer it not to be, and even though I suggested it be, and it's just the RFP.
Why don't you make the motion, Richard?
What?
If I may suggest, why don't you just make the motion and someone else can second it?
Okay, I move that we approve an RFP to be sent out to 3 architectural firms for architectural design of the library addition. Do I have a second? Miranda seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I was just, how is the RFP going to be distributed? Just curious.
It will go through the regular process that our town has. It's a pretty stringent process. Do you want us to summarize, Peter, to summarize it?
So, Michael, it's going to be 2 parts. So
it seemed like we had issues with response in the past, right? Or
the only time we have ever had an issue with response was for the garage roofing project. We do not know, but that easily could have been attributed to COVID, because in all of the other RFPs that I have put out, which is almost a dozen now in the past 5 years, we've always had more respondents than we needed.
Okay.
But to answer your question, Isaac is recommending a direct invitation for a certain number of architects that he feels would be a good fit. And then I would also put it on the Vermont bid registry, which would make it open to any architects within the state.
So is Isaac providing names and addresses of specific people?
That is correct.
Okay, that sounds good. I was just curious.
Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion? I will take the roll call on that motion to put out RFPs on.
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Thank you very much. We'll have an RFP there. Okay, can we have some very quick updates? Because we're at 7:43 and we really need to move along.
All right. DVFiber, I'll go very quickly. There's the organization's been around for a year, almost a year, and things are moving so fast, it's unbelievable. There's a change for me. I will no longer be chairing the communications committee I can talk to anybody who wants to know about it. It's not that big a deal, but personal reasons, I will be co-chairing and slowly stepping away from the leadership there that I'm doing. The biggest issue is with the federal funding that's coming for broadband. We're seeing it all over in the news. It's remarkable what the amounts of money that are going to be invested into this district. It's just pretty stunning. So that's coming along. Watch for newsletters and things like that. We'll explain that. We've put out an RFP for public-private partnership to build a public-private partnership. We received 11 responses, and we have a committee of folks that are looking very, very carefully at this. The big question is whether or not we want, at whatever cost, we want service now, or do we want to be able to engage in the kind of service we have so that we have some control over what's actually going forward. And I, as a representative, will lean more toward that second, just so you know. If you feel strongly that we need to get service just because we need to get service and lose all control or whatever, let me know. But I'll be speaking about the idea that we want to maintain some control in this entire process in a very Vermont sort of way. And the last thing is that the annual meeting for DVFiber will be on Tuesday, April the 11th, at which time there will be a new set of officers will be elected, and potentially we'll be moving to the format of having an executive committee run things. There you go.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Any questions for Zon? Okay, Peter, your COVID update quickly, please.
Yeah, I'll try and be as quick as possible. There's just a little bit of key information that has come out in the past couple of weeks that I think is important for people to know. Unfortunately, our case rate in Vermont is still climbing, as it is in the rest of New England. We are no longer the seat of low case numbers. At the moment, the 20 plus age group is currently making up almost 60% of cases in Vermont. And thankfully, the most vulnerable, those 70 plus, have the highest decrease in case rates. So that's all very positive. Testing is still the top priority of the governor, followed by vaccinations. The governor's goal is to have 100% of Vermonters vaccinated by July 1st. The easiest way to get a vaccination is to go to healthvermont.gov/myvaccine. And as of today, Vermonters aged 30 and over can register to get a vaccine, as well as those with pre-existing health conditions, including children with pre-existing health conditions. As of last Friday, 44% of Vermonters have had one dose and 28% have had both doses. That's critical because we need those numbers to continue to climb in order for the governor to ease up on the restrictions that we currently have. Let's see. The state hopes to offer further guidance later in this month on loosening restrictions. So starting last Friday, the governor revealed his Vermont Forward plan, a cautious and staged approach to reopening Vermont. Effective on Friday, April the 9th, phase 1 changes take effect, which means Group A sectors, which are outdoor businesses, low or no contact professionals, farmers markets, outdoor recreation, some retail operations, and lodging and campgrounds, are now only required to follow general guidance. And general guidance consists of stay at home. This is for employees. Stay at home if you are feeling sick or have symptoms. You must continue wearing masks, as the Vermont mask mandate is still in effect statewide. Continue to maintain 6-foot distances between employees at all times, and practice frequent hygiene. These are the minimums that are set by the state. Employers are permitted to implement stricter safety measures at their discretion.
Okay, Peter, I think that the select board could look at I've read the Vermont Forward Plan, and I think that the select board members who haven't read it could read it. We don't have to go through the whole
Okay.
in the service of time.
Sure, as you wish.
Yeah.
Oh, I just have one question, which is, can commissions meet in person or not?
It will not be possible until May 1st if the governor implements phase 2. Then we can have some in-person meetings for people who have been vaccinated. There will be restrictions as far as how that can be implemented for those who have not been vaccinated. But that will be, as long as the last point I'll make is, as long as we have between 60 and 70% of Vermonters 16 and older vaccinated by the end of this month, then that will take place and we can ease restrictions on group meetings, or the governor will ease restrictions on group meetings.
And 16 and older starts on April 19th, I believe, right? Next Monday.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you, Peter. Please, I didn't mean to be rude. I just think that the Vermont Forward Plan is pretty accessible to all of us. So,
yeah, and Richard, if people want to read it for themselves, they can go to vermont.gov/Vermont-forward.
Yep. Thank you very much. Okay, on to the warrants.
Okay, I move that we pay the following warrants. Payroll week 3/28/21 for the sum of $6,583.81. Payroll week 4/4/21 for $5,724.53. Week 4/11/21 for $5,571.82, and expense warrant number 2018 for the sum of $40,093.81 for a grand total of $57,973.97.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Zahn. Is there any discussion?
I'm assuming that gravel is a big part of this.
Yes.
Gravel was over half of that.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, I will take the roll. Zahn,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Veranda,
Aye.
Rusty,
Aye.
Richard, aye. That motion, the warrants are approved. Any communications, Peter?
We do not have any communications in the past 3 weeks of note. The action summary from your previous meeting is that the select board made an exception to the purchasing policy. You approved the purchase of new radios for the road crew. You approved the Guilford Story Walk on town office property. You approved repairs to the Green River Covered Bridge. You appointed Zahn and Michael as representatives and alternate to DVFiber, and you approved your annual goals. I apologize. I do not have your list of actions taken yet this evening because it's been a long meeting and I've been trying to type minutes as we talk.
I
So-
know one is that we'll expect something from Eric, and we will discuss with Penny as well and put it on the agenda for next time. That's one action. Anybody else have any? And that we'll write a letter.
H79, Veranda wants to talk more about that.
Right, and we're going to send a letter of support about the Prince marker. Those are the ones.
I do have all of the actions written down. I just do not have them summarized at the end of the
okay.
minutes here.
Peter, you've done a marvelous job, really.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any motions out that we need to take care of at this time? Zahn?
I would like to move, if possible, that we adjourn.
Oh, do I have a second for that? Veranda seconds. Is there any discussion? I'll take the roll. Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Veranda? She said no.
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
Richard, aye. The motion carries. Good evening, everyone. Another lovely meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.